you start talking stuff like this. But, with
Yeah.
knife defense, you can add electric knives.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'd never used simunitions before. And simunitions are essentially, you use your real gun. You swap out the barrel.
Right.
So a real round can't fire through it, but you fire these little rounds that they have for simunitions. And I'd never used them until I went to the Army school, the Army Special Reaction Course.
Okay.
And then everything we did was using
awesome.
those. So when you're getting hit, it hurts. Especially it was about 2 feet of snow when I was there. So your hands are cold. So you get shot, it hurts. But your training changes when you can't get hit, and it becomes realistic.
That's
not
right.
A bunch of people just saying, "Hey, I shot you." No, you didn't. It's
100%.
when you bring in that reality. That's a big thing with learning to train. You won't stick your head out when you should, and you won't, rush around the corner without checking it first.
Yep. When you get hit in the face a couple of times, you understand how to block your face.
It is
for sure. So, all right. So we've got you military, but where does your civilian police career start?
So when I got out, I started applying different agencies, and I'd been offered a job at another agency, but I settled in at Casey.
Okay.
I wanted something. I've been doing basically security for 8 years.
Right.
And I want something that's more active, learning the road in the process. And the agency that I was offered a job with wanted my background to do security for a federal location here in Columbia.
Okay.
And so I didn't accept that position because of that, but I ended up going to Casey, and which Casey is public safety, or was back then. It's not anymore. And with public safety, you have to be police and fire certified.
Wow.
You have to do both.
I didn't know that. You say back then, when was that?
They changed, and they separated either December of 2020 or January 2021. Right. Other than that, their entire career, you had to do both.
Wow. Is that unique?
There's several agencies around the state that still do it. Clinton, I know for sure does that. And there's a few others, North Augusta.
It kind of makes sense if you're in a smaller town or whatever, but Casey seems big enough to.
It is now. They definitely have it. But the way they ran it back then was you had 2 dedicated firefighters with the truck. Well, they have to be your scene commander and run your truck.
Oh, man.
So your patrol officers are your firefighters.
Right.
And then you send out an all page and get people in.
Huh.
So when I got to Casey, I went straight to learning the fire academy, because it took time to get into the police academy. So I went to the fire academy, got certified, was in the firehouse full time for a while. And then I went to the academy, came back, and was sent to patrol. So.
Wow, man.
I was there for it was over 5 years, just before 6 years in patrol. I worked my way up to shift corporal, and we were doing the SWAT team thing then too. So it was fun. We got to do a lot of training with local agencies.
Wow. That's impressive, man.
I tried my best during that time frame to get as much training as possible, because my goal was still always getting investigations, but there's a lot you can learn even from there on the road, as you're learning how people think, how people act. Or like me, I had several instances where things could have turned really bad. So I went back and watched my videos to see the body language and really learn that.
Yeah.
And that's an aspect you can take into investigations, learning how people act, especially with interviews and interrogations, how their body movements are, their micro expressions, things you can learn from that. So I went there. I was at Pine Ridge for about 1.5 years. I had a friend of mine that went over and took over as chief, and I went over there to help him with some things, getting some things straightened out. But my goal was always investigations. And someone I had previously worked was my supervisor at Casey, was the now chief at the Attorney General's office in the Medicaid fraud unit.
Okay.
And so I interviewed there, got the position, and I moved up there as basically a fraud investigator. But our end was investigating the doctors and Medicaid providers. So those that were billing for services not rendered, or upscaling some of the billing codes to get more money.
So what was it about investigations that you're interested in?
It's pretty much the puzzles.
I was thinking it's like solving a puzzle,
figuring things out, paying attention. The attention to detail was something I've always been good at with that. So it was just what I felt was my calling. Although when I first got there, when you start looking at the Medicaid aspect of it and the
you're like
financial crimes aspect, I'm like, did I make the right choice?
I'm not an accountant, man.
Well, luckily we had auditors assigned. So essentially the way we work cases up there, you had an attorney, an investigator, and an auditor on every case. So a lot of the data could be collected, or was collected by the auditors, and the attorneys just basically guided us. It was fortunate. It was really nice how they operated it. I had autonomy. I could go investigate my cases how I wanted. Just once a week, we'd come back and meet up on the status of the case.
Right. Compare notes, whatever.
But then they realized my security clearance was still active. So we started getting a lot of cases that we were going to take federal, which federal required the clearance.
Okay. So like conveniently,
It is.